Hello class 12 students. Today I am going to start our new chapter Surface Chemistry. Since surface chemistry deals with phenomena that occurs at the surfaces or the interfaces. So we will discuss about the phenomena or the reaction which occurs on the surface. The one of the important feature of surface chemistry is adsorption. Adsorption, the accumulation of molecular species at the surface rather than in the bulk of a solid or liquid is termed as adsorption. It means you can see in this image also, if it is a activated charcoal here and the gas molecules are adsorbed on the surface of this activated charcoal. So this type of phenomena where the molecular species accumulate on the surface of a solid or a liquid, then such type of phenomena is known as adsorption. Now adsorption can be made up of two parts, or it can have two parts. One is adsorbent and other one is adsorbate. Adsorbent, the solid substances on the surface of which adsorption occurs, is known as adsorbent. The solid substance on which the adsorption occurs, or the matter on which the adsorption takes place, such matter or the surfaces are known as adsorbent, whereas adsorbate are the substances that get adsorbed on the solid surfaces due to the intermolecular force of attraction are known as adsorbates. You can see in the image, since it is the surface, this is the surface, and on this surface on which the adsorption can take place, that surface or the matter is known as adsorbent, and the particles or the solid molecules or the gaseous molecules, liquid molecules which comes to accumulate on that particular matter or on that surface, that particles are known as adsorbate, that can accumulate on the surface, that is known as adsorbate. So adsorption is the process which is made up of two type of the substances. One is adsorbate and another one is adsorbent. This can be similar with the solution also, as we know that a solution has two parts. Solution can be made up of two parts. One is solute and other one is solvent. Since solute particles are those particles which have a tendency to dissolve in solvent. Similarly here, adsorbate are quite similar with solute particle, as adsorbates can adsorb on the solid surface, and the solvent molecules in a solution are those which can have a tendency to dissolve the solute particle. Similarly here, adsorbent are quite similar to solvents which are in the solution. Adsorbent are the surface on which the adsorbate can be attached. So this is the adsorbent, and the adsorbate can be attached or accumulate on the adsorbent surface. So this is quite similar to the solution part, but in case of solution we are talking about the liquid solution or the gaseous solution, but here the adsorbent and adsorbates are solid substances. Adsorbent is a solid substance where adsorbate may be solid, may be gas, or may be liquid. After adsorption, one other term comes, that is known as desorption. The process of removal of an adsorbed substance from the surface on which it is adsorbed is known as desorption. It means when some adsorbed particles get removed from the surface, then that process is known as desorption. Now come to some examples of adsorption. First is adsorption of a gas by charcoal. Some gases like oxygen, hydrogen, ammonia, chlorine, carbon monoxide, etc. get adsorbed on the surface of charcoal. They have a tendency to attract with charcoal, and they will get adsorbed on the surface of charcoal. Next, adsorption of a dye by charcoal. Dye or some coloring substance can adsorbed by charcoal also. Since we have a colored dye, and as we put that dye with contact with charcoal, then what will happen? The dye will get adsorbed on the surface of charcoal, and that colored dye will get colorless after getting adsorbed on the surface of charcoal molecule. Similarly, adsorption of water molecules by silica gel. It is an example of adsorption also. What will happen? The air becomes dry in the presence of silica gel. The air or the moisture becomes dry in the presence of silica gel because the water molecules get adsorbed on the surface of the gel. Come to the next point, that is the difference between absorption and adsorption. First of all, come to absorption. Absorption is a bulk phenomena. When we are talking about bulk, then we will consider absorption phenomena, and it occurs at uniform rate. In this, the particles of gas or liquid get uniformly distributed throughout the body of the solid. Suppose if we are seeing the phenomena of absorption, here it is absorption, and these particles of gas or liquid will uniformly distributed in the body of solid. Suppose this is solid particle, and the liquid and the gas or the gas molecules are getting dissolved or are getting absorbed on the surface of that solid, then what will happen? The particles of that solid and that gas or liquid will uniformly distributed over the body of the solid. Whereas in adsorption is the surface phenomena. It means it is the particles which are getting adsorbed on the solid surface, they will only adsorb on the surface part. They will not uniformly distributed to throughout the body. They will only adsorb on that surface part. You can see in the figure also. In case of absorption, all the molecules can move from surface to the other part of the body, but in a uniform manner. But in case of adsorption, where it is adsorption taking place, the molecules of gas and liquids can only accumulate up to the surface of the solid. So this is the difference between absorption process and adsorption process. So as our chapter is surface chemistry, so we will talk about adsorption in this case. Now, after knowing absorption and adsorption, after knowing the difference between absorption and adsorption, another term came, that is sorption. Sorption is the phenomena when both adsorption and absorption can take place simultaneously. That phenomena is known as sorption. Suppose we have a container of ink in which ink is present, which is of blue color, and if I am putting a piece of chalk in that container, a piece of white chalk in that container, then what will happen? The ink, that color of chalk, after getting adsorption, the color of chalk will become blue, as the ink molecule can adsorb on the surface of chalk, then the color of the chalk will become blue. And this phenomena is known as adsorption. But as we break the chalk from the middle, what we will see? We will see that on breaking the chalk, the inside part of the chalk is as similar, it is white in color. No ink particles will move inside the chalk. But the ink is a solution, so it contains solvent part also. And we feel that after breaking the chalk, we feel that the inner part is wet. It means that the solvent particles which are present in the ink solution, they will travel. They traveled inside the chalk, and they get the chalk wet, Due to this, we can assume that after breaking the chalk, since we assume that the outer side of the chalk is of blue color, but the inner part of the chalk is of white color. It means the adsorption of color, blue color takes place. Adsorption takes place of color. But as we feel the chalk, that from the inner part the chalk get wets. It means the solvent of the ink solution will move inside the chalk, and due to this we can assume that the absorption process is simultaneously occurred in that condition. So this can be the example of sorption, in which the adsorption by the molecules of blue ink, which can adsorb on the surface of the chalk only, they will not they would not move inside the chalk, but the solvent particle of the blue ink will move inside the chalk also. So it will be and it will uniformly distributed there. So in this case we are seeing two type of the process simultaneously. One is adsorption and other one is absorption. So this can be the example of sorption process. Now come to the next point, that is adsorption can be of two types. That is, one is positive adsorption and another one is negative adsorption. Positive adsorption means when the concentration of adsorbate is more on the surface of the adsorbent relative to its concentration in the bulk. Then such type of adsorption is known as positive adsorption. Whereas negative adsorption is that when the concentration of adsorbate is less on the surface relative to its concentration in the bulk. Now let's see the process mechanism of adsorption. As we know that adsorption is a surface phenomena. It arises because of unbalanced forces on the surface of solids and liquids. This is because of the fact that surface particles of the adsorbent are not in same environment as the particles inside the bulk. As you can see in the image also, these are the particles which is inside the bulk. If I have some liquid and the particles of that liquid which is present in the bulk, they are in different environment, whereas the particles of that surface molecules, they are in different environment. Why it is so? The particles which is present in bulk, they are in balanced form. As we can see that the forces from all the side which on the molecules which are present in the bulk, they all are same. Forces from all the side are same. From this side it is same, from this side is same. So in this case the molecule will be in balanced form. But the molecules which are present on the surface here, they are not in the balanced form. Why? Because some forces are in the downward state, some are in the side states, but the upward in the upper phase there is no forces present. So the molecules which are at the surface, they are not stable, they are not balanced, and due to instability, due to unbalanced nature, they have very high energy. And as we add some of the solid particle to such type of substance, as we add some solid particle, suppose I add charcoal. Now what will happen is the surface particles are unstable, unbalanced and have high energy. So on adding charcoal, they will get attracted by the charcoal. Attraction force will apply by the charcoal molecule, and what will happen? The force of attraction increases here, is very high here. And due to increase in force of attraction, now that surface molecule will get balance, will get stable, and the energy will get reduced. The molecules which are initially unstable, after attaching or after connecting with the charcoal molecule, they will get stable. Which are unbalanced, they will get balanced. Which have higher energy, they after getting or after connecting with charcoal, they will have lower energy. The energy will get released. And due to release of energy, we can say that the process of adsorption is an exothermic process, because after getting with charcoal, the energy will get released. The molecules of surface which has higher energy, that energy will get reduces and the energy will get released here. So the mechanism of adsorption is that the adsorption process is exothermic in nature, and the balanced forces of the adsorbent are responsible for attracting the adsorbate particles on its surface, resulting adsorption. Come to the types of adsorption. There are mainly two types of adsorption. One is physical adsorption, other one is chemical adsorption. Physical adsorption, also known as physisorption, when the particles of the adsorbate are held to the surface of the adsorbent by the physical forces such as van der Waals forces, then the adsorption is called physical adsorption or physisorption. And chemical adsorption or chemisorption is when the molecules of the adsorbate are held to the surface of adsorbent by the chemical forces or chemical bonds. The adsorption is called chemical adsorption or chemisorption. Difference between physical adsorption and chemical adsorption. First is physical adsorption. It is due to intermolecular van der Waals forces, whereas chemical adsorption is due to chemical bond formation. Physical adsorption depends on the nature of the gas. Easily liquefiable gases are adsorbed radially in case of physical adsorption, whereas in case of chemical adsorption, it depends on the nature of the gas, and the gases which can react with the adsorbent show chemical adsorption. And physical adsorption is not specific in nature, whereas chemical adsorption is more specific as compared to physical adsorption. Heat of adsorption. In case of physical adsorption, it is less and the value is around 20 to 40 kilojoule per mole. 20 to 40 kilojoule per mole. Whereas in case of chemical adsorption, heat of adsorption is high and it is around 80 to 240 kilojoule per mole. It is around 80 to 240 kilojoule per mole. And physical adsorption is reversible in nature, whereas chemical adsorption is irreversible in nature, because in this the chemical bonds are forming. Physical adsorption, it occurs rapidly at low temperature and decreases with increase of temperature, whereas chemical adsorption increases with increase of temperature. Physical adsorption increases with increase of pressure, whereas chemical adsorption has no effect of pressure. Also, physical adsorption forms multi-molecular layers on adsorbent surface, but in case of chemical adsorption forms only unimolecular layers on the adsorbent surface. So these are the difference of chemisorption and physisorption. Now let's see some question and answers related to the topic. Question first, name two compounds used as adsorbent for controlling humidity. So the answer is silica gel, alumina gel, as we have already studied earlier. Question second, adsorbents in finely divided form are more effective. Why? It is due to more surface area of finely divided form. As the solid is in its finely divided form, it is in its powdered form, then the surface area of that solid is high, and as the surface area is high, then the tendency to adsorb on the surface is also increases. So due to this, the adsorbents in finely divided form or in the powdered form are more effective due to higher surface area. Question third, why are adsorbate particles attracted and retained on the surface of adsorbent? due to the unbalanced forces of the adsorbent are responsible for attracting adsorbate particles at adsorbent surfaces. So these are some question answers. Now some practice questions for you. Do these questions. Thank you. That's all for today.